Welcome to the BrandTastic Podcast with your host, Robert Wilson.
Hello, everybody. We have Daniela Brozkova, a hair and makeup artist and traditional artist, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about what you do.
So my name is Daniela, and I am an artist at heart. And I have used my artistic eye and touch in beauty industry since I can remember.
Yeah. And you, so tell us a little bit about where you grew up in Czech.
I grew up in Prague, in Czech Republic.
Nice. How was that? What was that like? What was that experience?
It was a traditional European upbringing, I would say. And then I moved to the United States at the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
And in pursuit of learning English and having a little bit more of an artistic freedom and hoping to go to college for art.
Oh, nice. And when you're in Prague, was there any other artists in your family, like your mom or dad or anybody special, or did you just kind of pick that up on your own?
I've been painting and sculpting since I can remember, since I was probably 2 or 3 years old.
Oh, nice.
And the 3D modeling and 3D sculpting is really where I excel the most. I do paint. Mm-hmm. I'm a traditional oil painter.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the 3D part played a much bigger role in my life. And it translated into doing hair and makeup. So they both overlapped.
When you do traditional art as a child, it's a little bit easier. You can just kind of get a piece of paper and a pencil or a paintbrush and kind of do your thing. So how did you get into hair and makeup then, or hair and makeup then?
So I was basically painting on everything that I could find.
Mm-hmm.
Cardboard, paper, canvas, wood. Then I gradually moved into sculpting.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was a piece of wood anywhere, I would be carving statues, sculptures out of it.
With what as a kid? Just a knife?
My grandpa had a garage.
Oh, okay.
With lots of tools. So I helped myself to whatever I could find.
Oh, that's interesting.
And on the cold winter nights after skiing, I would basically wind up spending 3-4 hours in a garage and carving into the wood.
Oh, nice. You have any of those pieces laying around still?
I do.
Oh, you
I
do?
actually do,
Okay.
yes. I mean, they're rather interesting, but...
At home or...
they're still in Czech.
They're still in Czech. You got to bring some home.
Czech.
That's pretty cool.
And then I ended up getting into hair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no hairdressers, hairstylists in my family.
Right.
But somehow I was able to translate the sculpting part of that into hair. So my cousin Maria was my first victim.
Victim, uh-oh.
I didn't think she was a victim, but my Aunt Vera basically excommunicated me from the family because she tried to grow cousin Maria's hair really long.
Right.
And I convinced Maria that she needed layers.
Oh, God.
So Maria was 11 with basically a shaggy haircut after I was done, and hell broke loose, and it just was not pleasant.
You have any pictures of that or no?
I do not.
Oh, that's too bad.
But frequently when we do get together, we still laugh about it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maria always says, "Do you remember when?" I'm like, "Oh, do I ever?"
So that was probably your first and didn't have a new client for a while then after that, a new victim, as you say.
I would say that was probably, my cousin Maria was my first one.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I ended up cutting almost everybody's hair.
Oh, wow.
My best friend, short hair, long hair, it didn't matter.
Oh, that's fun.
And I often wonder, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Because there's a very definite skill to cutting hair.
Sure, absolutely. And having a confidence of practicing on someone's hair.
I would say overconfidence.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty funny. It's so after so you're in high school, you graduate high school, mm-hmm. and then you decide to go to the United States.
I came to the United States at the age of 18, and my goal was to learn English and
mm-hmm.
possibly take an art class.
Right.
Because at the time, Czech Republic had one art school, and
oh, wow.
you had to know somebody to get in, and it was almost impossible. So when I came to the United States and I realized that you can sign up for a college class, art class, and just go, I was completely enamored with the idea.
That's amazing, because I have 17-year-old boys now, and for them to, I mean, they barely can, put gas in the car. And here you are deciding to go to another country by yourself, right?
By myself, yes.
Was that nerve-wracking, or you didn't really?
No, it was an adventure.
Okay.
To me, it was just one big adventure.
Yeah.
And the United States had the things that I love the most: horses, skiing, and art.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so that's unbelievable. So you weren't nervous at all? You are very adventurous.
I'm adventurous, but of course, I think at that time when you're 19, the not knowing the excitement overpowers the nerves.
Right.
You don't think about it as nervous. You just think of it as exciting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And then were you thinking about going back to Czech at any point?
I did. So my goal was to learn English again, stay for a year, potentially take some art classes, and then move back to Czech. And I wound up going back.
Oh, did you?
I did. And
For how
briefly,
long?
for a couple of months.
Oh, okay.
And then I returned and enrolled into beauty school.
Oh, nice. And where did you go to school at? Was it in New Jersey?
It was in New Jersey.
Okay.
The school was in New Jersey. It was in Woodbridge. And God bless Mr. Faluka, my teacher, and my hair angel that I called on and upon when things get a little bit hairy.
Is he still around?
He's not. He passed.
Oh, sorry.
But he was one of those super inspiring, ever positive influences in my life.
Yeah, and you're a lot like that.
I'm trying to be.
Yeah,
I'm trying to live up to that expectation and help anyone I can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you get into hair and makeup, and then what was the transition like of going a hobbyist student to a career?
So it kind of happened organically. I can't say it was a plan. My plan was to go to college and be able to live. So hairdressing was providing that for me during my college years.
Sure.
And when I finished college and applied for a job straight out of school, I realized that my hairdressing craft had turned into a career, unbeknownst to me. And it afforded me freedom to really explore the other loves in my life.
Right. And what are they? What's some of the...
I love to ski. I used to be on a ski team in Czech Republic, and now I'm a alpine race coach at Hunter Mountain.
Oh, wow.
So I am reliving and passing on the torch to the younger, eager skiers.
And you had a teacher that inspired you in beauty school, and now you get to kind of give back a little bit.
That's it. And to see the love of these racers, when they come to me, I coach the U16, U18. So most of them are 14, 15 years old and older.
Right.
So they have been through the training. But a lot of times at that age, confidence or the lack of confidence is very present. And sometimes the lack of direction.
Right.
And through ski race coaching, I'm able to provide them both and build the confidence and give them the feedback that they need and build their confidence for life.
When did you start skiing? At what age about?
I would say I was probably 2.
Oh, wow. So you're...
So I grew up on skis.
Yeah, you must be pretty good then.
I'm pretty good.
And so with the kids, do you it's more of a higher level kind of coaching that you do?
It is a higher level. I mean, at this point, some of these students, they're looking to go to colleges and ski race for college. So they are honing and polishing their skills at this point.
And that's where you come in.
That's where I come in. We go to races. We race the entire season.
I see on one of your Instagram pages, you really go above and beyond. You kind of, even when it's 100 degrees here, you're at the Meadowlands giving lessons, right? How's that? How's getting kids that have the same enthusiasm as you do? Must be a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And usually those that are taking lessons through the summer, they're in it to win it.
Yeah.
But it's not just because they should win. There's the internal drive to get better and to learn. And some of my students are little, 9, 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Some of them are 14, some of them are 18. And then I have some adults that saw my Instagram post and they wanted to learn how to ski or get better. So it has kind of morphed into more extending the skiing part of my life to their life.
Sure. And coach, I coached for a lot of years, and it's pretty interesting because it's not just about teaching them technique, it's building their confidence. And I know you well enough to know that you have always been into self-help, listen to the podcasts like that. So a lot of the stuff you learn, I'm sure kind of you're able to translate it into helping them kind of build up their confidence.
I am. And I have to say I'm extremely grateful for everything that I have learned over the years. And there's a lot more that I want to learn. And seeing how you can change somebody's life just by being kind and being open and being there is really transformative.
Yeah, it's really special when somebody calls you coach, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I find it cool, like kids I coached 5 years ago, I haven't seen, they see it, hey, coach. It's a really special title.
It is. And I just recently had one of my students reach out to me and was asking me, how is the team going, coach? How is that going with the team? I have to tell you, the time I had spent on that race team, I will never forget. It was one of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
So to me, that is just the ultimate.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely is. So let's get back to business. So when you're not skiing, you're working on your business, doing hair and makeup, and now you do a lot of you've done destination work. Like people hire you to travel to other countries to do their hair and makeup.
So I guess one of those things that I have, how would I put this? One of the things that I have in my favor is the fact that I have traveled Europe as a child.
Sure.
So going abroad is not a problem whatsoever. And I have been hired on several weddings, several venues all over the world. One was in the Caribbean on Necker Island. The other one was, I just recently came back from Italy.
Wow.
From Tuscany.
What was that like?
Tuscany, Italy is beautiful to begin with.
Yeah, I've been there once, a long time ago.
Tuscany is just on a whole new level.
Sure.
And this wedding was really special because it's one of my clients that I've known forever. I have known all of their children and grandchildren. And they asked me if I would be part of their big day.
And what's that like? So you're there for a while, right?
I was there for 5 days. And the planning takes a little bit of a logistics because you have to basically have tools that are for the US and tools that are for the European bracket. Sometimes converters don't work, especially with the tools that we use. Professional tools have a much higher voltage, so they will blow out the converters. So we have to get tools that work, get products that are okay to take with us.
Oh, really? That's a problem.
It's a problem. So there's weight restrictions.
Right.
So everything has to be carefully planned and weighed and make sure that basically anything and everything that I need for those 4 or 5 days, I have.
And when you get there, it's a big relief that you have everything. You can start relaxing a little bit.
Yes, it is a relief when you get your bags at the airport finally, yes.
I do some videography out of the state, and I can't enjoy myself until I'm there. I know all my luggage and all my camera equipment got there, so I could appreciate that a little bit of the anxiety of not being able to enjoy the journey yet until you know all your stuff is there, because it's not like you get there, you're missing something, and you can just pick it up someplace.
That's just it. And whoever's been to Tuscany, it's absolutely beautiful, but it's kind of vast.
Do a lot of these clients on the destination part of it, is it just a wedding, or is it like a whole week of festivities that you're kind of working on? So
usually, on average, there's a welcome dinner when the guests arrive, and they're shown basically where they're going to stay. Then the next day is the wedding. The day after the wedding, usually there is a celebration. Could be a pool party, or could be just a fiesta party. And then usually then there's just one more relaxing day that goes with that.
Do you get any time to enjoy yourself?
At times.
Yeah.
I mean, usually we're on location early in the morning, I would say, depending on what time the ceremony starts. Usually we get there, we're all set up and ready to go by 8, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are done by, let's say, 5 or 6, but we still stay around for touch-ups and for any necessary adjustments. So most likely, once the guests sit down and start eating, that's when we depart.
How is it the wedding? I mean, I was in the wedding business years ago. It's getting more difficult, wouldn't you say, to find the right client? I mean, it's so saturated now. But how do you go about that part of it? Like us kind of separating yourself a little bit.
So I think the most important part is to talk about your experience. And a lot of times nowadays, anything could be visually altered. Mm-hmm. But what I would do is, if I was a bride, I would do some background homework and make sure that the people that you're hiring, that your artists that you're hiring are certified, that they have licenses, because there's a lot that could go wrong when you don't really know sanitation, when you don't know what could happen if there's a burn, if there's an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
So when you do go into a school, that's all part of your exam.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You're not only paying for the work, you're paying for possible problems that could arise, and that's really what separates a professional from an amateur or somebody just doing it on the side.
Correct. And it's not always just hair and makeup. Mm-hmm. We have been through hundreds of weddings, and we had encountered broken zippers on the wedding dresses, broken hearing aids, cars that broke down. I mean, and we have to be able to sort of pivot and multitask and be flexible and be able to accommodate and fix.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, one thing about weddings, it doesn't often run on time, right? So you're doing a lot of work quickly sometimes. You think you have a couple hours or a few hours or 4 hours, and you have an hour and a half.
Correct. I mean, what we do on average, we have a schedule. So before we get to the wedding, the day before, we go over a very detailed schedule. There's a 5-10 minute cushion built into every hour. Mm-hmm. And in case somebody runs a little bit late, but it is pretty straightforward. It's not like everybody would show up at the room at the same time. Everybody has a time that they will be at a room or at a chair, either makeup artist or hairstylist. So we try to eliminate the pressure and the stress. Mm-hmm. There's always stress that comes up with, doing hair, doing makeup, getting into a dress, not being able to get into the dress, forgetting how to tie a bow on the dress. So all that takes up time.
Yeah, I think a lot of, in any field, especially in the wedding business, where people might not realize that they're paying for, is that you've been doing it for a while, that nothing's going to happen that day that hasn't happened to you already. So you're going to know how to handle these kind of difficult situations. I mean, most people can do most things when everything's going smoothly, but you're hiring the person that, when somebody has to get done in 20 minutes instead of an hour, that you're going to be able to do the best possible job in that 20 minutes.
Correct.
Where most people, you might notice, but most people won't notice.
Correct. Yeah. And you would never know if we're under the gun. I mean, mm-hmm. the team that I'm part of and I work with, mm-hmm. I very, very carefully hand selected the people I work with.
And that's the beauty team.
That's the beauty team.
Yeah.
And it took me several years to come up with a mix that works under any circumstance.
Right. And it's not just the great work that they can do. It's also their personalities getting along. When they're under the gun, that they're kind and enthusiastic still. And
absolutely. You could have the most amazing artists, but if they're not nice, they're not kind, and they just want to get in and get out, opposed to having someone who is extremely accommodating, maybe not as skilled. People always choose someone that they could relate to.
Right.
opposed to somebody that's probably a phenomenal artist, but they can just connect with.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I have to deal with creatives a lot, and creatives aren't always the easiest people to deal with, right? Especially, so it's unusual that like somebody like yourself, you're both a creative, you're a creative and an entrepreneur. You do have an entrepreneurial spirit, and a lot of I mean, that's why there's the starving artist kind of saying, is because they don't have that in them. They don't know. They just don't have that. They just want to do the work sometimes. So you have to find the right people to kind of mesh with your clients.
It took me a long time.
Yeah.
And I had met them at various venues, weddings, and when I got the feel and the vibe was right, I always asked for a card.
Right.
And I would follow up with, would you collaborate? Would you want to collaborate in the future? And we had connected on several other jobs. And it's amazing how when you have the correct team, the right team, anything that comes to you, comes your way becomes a breeze. And I think that's really when people see harmony within the team, no matter what comes and no matter what happens, they could lean on that strength of that team. Right.
And a team's important too, to have people ready in case someone gets sick. Especially during times like COVID, like you have a team. If one person can't make it, you have other people to kind of fill that position, because it's a wedding and it's a one-shot deal.
And we do. I mean, we have people on standby usually, and we will drop anything outside of a wedding, but let's say a personal event, we will drop that in order to fill in for whoever, whenever, if there is anybody in distress. And that's priceless.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you go into a wedding, is it one person that goes, or sometimes 2 or 3? How does that usually work?
So it's really depending on what time and how many people need to be done. So if it's an early wedding, we would usually bring the entire team, and it could be 6, sometimes 8 people.
Oh, wow.
Unless you want to start at 2 a.m, which most people don't.
Gotcha.
We would bring the entire entourage. If it is 5, 6 people, usually we do bring one makeup artist, one hairstylist. Sometimes upon request, because they will cut the time in half, we would double up and do 2 makeup artists and 2 hairstylists. But it's really dependent on the person and on their preference.
Right. Well, and the service area, besides the destination, I know you'll work anywhere, but a lot of your work is taking place in both New York and New Jersey?
New York and New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I mean, we've gone, Delaware. So it varies.
And how do you get most of your clients?
Most of our clients come via referrals. Yeah. So I would say referrals are probably the bulk of our business.
Nothing like a referral client, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's you almost sometimes don't even have to sell too much. You just kind of, they saw the work. And what's great about what you do is people can see your work just through their wedding pictures.
Correct.
Right? So they see the wedding pictures and they already know if they like your work or not. Yeah. How is it? How is it? Much experience working on different kind of skin tones and stuff, especially with and different kind of hair. I mean, like, are you able to work on different types of hair?
We are. Yeah. Usually, what we do a trial, and we encourage, part of the bridal party to come with, so at least we can see what type of a skin they have, what type of a hair they have, maybe give them recommendations in how to prepare their hair closer to the wedding, what to do, how to have the best outcome. And basically, what I would say, the neater and cleaner the canvas, the easier and more beautiful the end result.
That makes a lot of sense. So how important is it for potential clients to make a connection with you or your staff?
I would say connection is probably one of the most important elements. There's a lot of professionals that could do hair wonderfully. However, connection and trust will make the bride calm on the wedding day, will make the entire bridal party at ease. And that element is priceless.
And that's where referrals help, because they already have a certain amount of trust in you.
Correct.
So if a bride does a trial, whether it's with you or somebody else, this is more information for a potential for a bride, and they didn't get the results they expected. What would you suggest to them? Should they go to try another person on the company's team, or just have the same person try it again? What's your feeling on that?
So when things don't quite work out the way you anticipated, you spend 1 or 2 hours with the artist of your choice, and let's say the style or the makeup, they're good, but you're not thrilled with it. I think this is where trust and communication, open communication, comes in. You can contact the same stylist and request another trial and kind of gauge their engagement and how they approach you getting a second trial. If they're open to it and accommodating, that's a good sign. So I would say give them another chance. If that still does not connect with your vision, I would contact another stylist within the team or contact the owner and tell them your concerns. The owner sometimes knows each stylist or each makeup artist has a little bit of a personal style, and they might be able to connect you with somebody that's more aligned with what your visioning or what you're seeing. If that doesn't work, I highly encourage you to seek other people. Sometimes more trials are not only beneficial, but you're ruling out things that you might be questioning.
Yeah, and the bride is learning a little bit more as each trial goes on. So that brings up, because you brought up a lot about style. What does your team do to keep up with the current trends? And is there ever a trend that maybe you don't recommend? Because sometimes trends are fun, but it gets dated really quick. I always personally like, when I see wedding pictures, like very classic. Because classic to me never goes out of style, but I understand that you still have to keep up with the trends, the new makeups, the new products for the hair. So how do you guys keep up to date and current with everything?
So we take continuous lessons, continuous classes. We travel worldwide and educating ourselves. When client comes in, and I'm just going to use that as an example, this past few years, the Hollywood waves were a big trend.
Sure.
So if your dress does not go with that style, we would make a recommendation.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So we want to always, during our trial, we ask the bride to bring a picture of their dress, to bring whatever they're going to be putting in their hair, or if it's a tiara, if it's a clip, comb, to have everything with them. Because sometimes what they envision and what it actually ends up looking like are two totally different things.
Sure, I can actually see that. They like the makeup or a hairstyle of one of their friends, but their friends had a certain kind of dress on, and it wouldn't look good. So you get that detailed with everything.
Very detailed.
Yeah.
And then I guess really when it comes to hairstyles, we look at facial features. And this is where geometry comes in.
Sure.
And there's certain people that with Hollywood waves, they end up looking much older. And we will create that style, but we will recommend them trying something completely different.
Is it important at all when they come to the trial that they're dressed a certain way?
It is. So what we prefer, we usually tell our brides, whatever your neckline is on your dress, please wear a white tank top, t-shirt, depending on what the dress looks like. And it could give them a little bit more of a glimpse of what it's going to look like.
Yeah, that's interesting, because colors, especially colors, it looks much different next to other colors.
Correct.
Right, yeah. So if they're wearing something black, it's not going to look the same as if they're wearing something white.
Especially if they have dark hair.
Yeah.
Then you're going to lose the detail in the
Right.
pictures. I mean, when we do the trial, we take many pictures, and just basically from all different angles. And that's not just for the bride, it's also for us to see if the symmetry is where it needs to be. So if we need to adjust certain part of the style, we can do that.
How difficult it is, so you do the trial, they're happy. How difficult is it at times to duplicate that? What if they get a tan, like something like that? Like you do it in the winter, they're pale, then you come in and they're at the Jersey Shore all summer.
So we would adjust.
Okay.
It's a color adjustment when it comes to makeup. When it comes to hair, we do have diagrams for actually both hair and makeup. Mm-hmm. So at the time of the trial, we would chart every single part of that hairstyle.
Okay.
Compared with pictures. Mm-hmm. So we have basically a visual and a written part that we could refer to.
Right. Yeah. For me, that I could see that being challenging at times, but that's part of doing it for a while. You kind of nothing's going to happen to you that hasn't happened already, probably.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, we have been there, done that. So over preparedness is us being ready.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, it's great talking to you. I think we can wrap it up here. How can people find you?
So you could go online, thebeautyteam.com.
Okay.
You could reach out via email. You could call us, and then we'll get back to you within 24 hours.
Awesome. It was a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Thank you.